Good afternoon. It's Thursday, 8th of July, in the Read Nook with what you can see here is a big pile of parcels to unbox, kind of built up over the bad weather we've had in the past few days. So let's get to it. Let's see what I'm here. We're going to do this one first. Let's move this out of the way. So this one already opened, but we're going to dig further into it, and what's in here is this, and it's a copy of Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes, published by Blade, which is basically publishing arm of Flying Buffalo. And we've already been into this box before, so have a look at the core rulebook. And Border Crossing, and The Case of the Pacific Clipper by Dave Arneson. And the next thing we come to is The Adventure of the Jade Jaguar. Now, I can remember when Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes came out, this was the adventure that you could always find with it. Some of the other books in this box set, such as The Case of the Pacific Clipper, I've never seen before because it never crossed across my path at the time. But this is a solitaire adventure for use with Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes and other contemporary role-playing games. It's written by Michael A. Stackpole, the designer of the game, whom you'll know probably from the huge variety of novels he's written over the years, whether for Battletech or Star Wars, and Shadowrun, and also for his role-playing advocacy. But this is basically a solo adventure for a modern role-playing game. There aren't very many of those in comparison to fantasy role-playing games, whether that's for Tunnels or Trolls. Lots of solo adventures for Tunnels or Trolls, and then there's also, you've got Fighting Fantasy as well. That's got some modern adventures in it, but mostly it's fantasy. So, The Adventure of the Jade Jaguar. The revolutionaries stalk in the jungle hunting for you, but they pass your hiding place oblivious to your presence. When they've passed up the narrow path, you slip from the tree. Cautiously, you head off into the direction they came from, stepping off the trail when you hear a noise. There in the clearing ahead is a jaguar that would dwarf a Bengal tiger, and if that isn't strange enough, it is a rich shade of green. So The Adventure of the Jade Jaguar is a solitary adventure designed for use for contemporary role-playing games, especially Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes, produced by Blade, a division of Flying Buffalo Inc., and Espionage, produced by Hero Games. Now obviously the other game I showed you, I did an unboxing report out here, or the other scenario was Border Crossing. The solitaire adventure is not a complete game. You need the rules to one of these games to play it. So that's either Mercenaries, Spies and Private Eyes or Espionage. So there we go, that's the back. So open up. Front cover by Liz Danforth. Illustrations by Mark Adams. So we've got a nice open sort of basic frontispiece there. And then we've got to go into the introduction. And a very kind of pulp action, strong female character, in the jungle, jungle fatigues, that sort of thing, dressed for the safari. And then we're off into the adventure itself. So, you basically, obviously with any solo adventure, leafing through this is really only going to give a vague idea of what the adventure is like. Okay, there is very likely to be an encounter with a snake, quite a large snake. Boating up the river through the jungle, and again, some kind of demon. No idea what that is because obviously not read the text. And we have not quite sure whether that's meant to be Chuck Norris or Tom Selleck. But yeah, that could be Scout on the background. But I don't think this is a crossover. one of these days I will actually find my copy of the Masters of the Universe role-playing game that FASA put out in the early 80s, and review that, basically, especially with the new version coming out. So yeah, this is basically a classic kind of adventure. You have it's multiple entries, because essentially they're not broken up into, they're just not numbered. They've got letters too, so they basically go one entry, you've got 15A through 15J, and then it starts on 16A, essentially. Then, so they're sequential, but they're not numbered. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that you might expect to see in another role-playing game. It takes you all the way down to the end, and essentially we have a scene of the Jade Jaguar versus the demon we saw earlier, some kind of denouement. So it's I would suggest there are well, basically it takes you up to 24G in terms of its in terms of the paragraph numbering, but you are looking what sort of like I would suggest, let's say you're talking 7 entries per number, so 24 times 7, it's over 140, so about 155, something like that, entries in the book. And then we come to the espionage conversions here. So it's not specifically written that in mind, but you've got the conversions at the back, and that's actually written by George MacDonald, who designed Hero and in particular Champions, the superhero role-playing game that Hero is based off. And then we have a basically an adventure rating system for what is an adventure design questionnaire at the back. So you'd fill this in and send it back to the publisher, so they would basically get some idea of what you liked and what you want to see more of. And that was kind of a standard feature of role-playing games, especially they came with a box. There'd be a little card insert you could fill in and send off. I mean, Chaosium was did that a lot. Sorcerer's Apprentice, Quarterly Magic, you've got a quarterly magazine of fantasy and fantasy gaming, so you've got an advert at the back for that. And then you have advert for Heroic Fantasy, basically a play-by-mail game. So yeah, well, I mean, obviously at some point I will dig into this and do a proper review of it. But essentially, you would essentially go away, create your own character, whether it's for espionage or mercenary, spies, and private eyes. Come back to this, play through this, possibly 1 or 2 times, depending upon how well you did. And if you wanted to, if you were essentially, once you've done that, you would either let your friends play through it, or if you're a GM, you could actually basically go in and extract the details and create an adventure of your own. There is no guidelines in here for that, and that's slightly disappointing, which would have given it a bit more life beyond just being a solo adventure, given how much little support there was for Mercenaries, Spies, and Private Eyes in comparison to Tunnels and Trolls. But nevertheless, Adventure of the Jade Jaguar, this is adventure number 1. Nice little book. Will be fun getting into at some point in the future, just to see what it's like. Almost 40 years on since it was published. So yeah. So okay. So thank you for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please do click the like button. And if you've got any comments or feedbacks, I do appreciate you adding those. And of course, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, which basically you'll see another 10-minute video of me sat here with a nice hot cup of tea and a box or package like that. Chat your way for 10 minutes about essentially what's in the box and what I think of it. Then please do click that subscribe button. In the meantime, there will be more unboxings to come. Got a big pile of them there. But thanks again for watching, and I will be back again in the very near future with another unboxing. Bye for now.